Hey, it's Sam from Sugar Spun Run, and today I'm showing you how I make my favorite version of Maryland crab cakes. There are a lot of different versions of crab cakes out there, and even in Maryland, you're going to find people who disagree about the right way that they should be made. Today, I am sharing my personal favorite version, how I make crab cakes for my family. I think you're going to love this one. I personally feel like it's authentic. I personally feel like it's the best, but I'm obviously biased, but let's get started. So for the best crab cakes, you really want to start with a jumbo lump crab meat. This should be coming from Maryland blue crab. You want to use fresh crab meat. A lot of times in the seafood section, you can find it on ice. I go to a local crab place to get mine. What you don't want to use is imitation crab meat. Don't do it. It's not worth it. If you can't find jumbo lump will work, but I do prefer jumbo lump because it just gives you bigger pieces and it just works better. It's also more expensive. Now, currently a pound of crab meat for me is $55 for this fresh Maryland jumbo lump. That's a lot of money for a meal. So I really wanted to make sure I had this dialed in and it was just the perfect version. That way you are not wasting your money on crab meat. All right, so with our crab meat, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pick over it and remove any shells that might be in there. I already did take a look over here. This one actually was pretty clean, but if there are any shells in there, remove them. Otherwise they're going to end up in your crab cake, obviously. So I'm going to just set the crab meat aside for now. We don't need that just yet. We're going to grab a mixing bowl. We're going to start by adding 6 tablespoons of mayonnaise. Now this is going to add some moisture to the crab cake and a little bit of flavor. So with crab cakes, one thing you can run into is since the meat's so expensive, people will put in a lot of filler so that they can make it stretch as far as possible. I get that, but we are instead aiming for a crab cake where the crab meat really shines. It's the star of the show and it's not buried behind a whole bunch of different flavors. So my recipe doesn't use a whole bunch of filler, which is one thing I love about it. Now we're also going to be adding 1 large egg. The egg helps to bind everything together. And we'll add just a teaspoon of yellow mustard. Some people prefer to use Dijon mustard. That's fine. If I use Dijon, I usually use a little bit more, but I personally just prefer to use yellow mustard. I think it works a little better with the crab meat. We're also going to add a teaspoon of lemon juice. Fresh squeezed is always best if you have it. Go ahead and add that in. And then for spices, we don't go too crazy. Old Bay is classic. Like, we're not gonna go overboard on the Old Bay, but we're gonna add a teaspoon in here. That's gonna give us a nice depth of flavor. Old Bay just works really, really well with crabs. If you can't find it, I'm going to try to remember to link to where you can get it on Amazon, but I feel like most seafood seasonings would probably work pretty well. I'm gonna have to look into that a little more. And we'll also add some parsley. This is a teaspoon and a half of fresh parsley. You could use about a teaspoon of dried instead. If that's all you have on hand, that would be fine. Then just a 1/4 teaspoon of ground black pepper and also a 1/4 teaspoon of table salt. Now we're going to whisk all of these ingredients together. Make sure you get everything nicely combined, get the egg nicely broken up. All right, now let's add our crab meat in here. I think I've said this a bunch of times already, but we're using a pound of crab meat. And we're also going to be adding a 1/2 cup of plain panko. I have used breadcrumbs, sourdough breadcrumbs. I actually like using breadcrumbs for my personal sourdough. That works nicely. And I've also made it using saltine crackers, crushed saltine crackers. You could use a 1/2 cup of any of those, but my preferences are to use plain panko or saltine crackers. Panko is my favorite though. So this is a 1/2 cup or 40 grams. I do always include metric measurements in all of my recipes. So those are in the printable recipe if you're looking for them. All right, now we're going to gently work everything together. When you're doing this, you want to take care that you are not overworking the crab meat because you don't want to break up all those beautiful lumps. If we were gonna break them up, we could have saved ourselves money and just gotten lump crab meat. We're just gently stirring everything together and get it nicely combined. All right, we'll be baking our crab cakes, which is my preferred way to prepare them. I actually do not like pan frying them. I think that just doesn't work as well. It's not how we're gonna do it. So I'm going to get my baking sheet ready right now. I just have a rimmed cookie sheet and I'm going to lightly grease this with a little bit of butter. I don't love using parchment paper because I often like to do a little bit of broiling at the end and parchment paper can't handle that high of a heat. So let me just a quick greasing with a little bit of butter. Help keep it from sticking. Let me make a little space here. So we're going to be getting 8 crab cakes out of today's recipe. And this is a pretty loose mixture because we're not using a ton of binder and we're not using a ton of filler. Again, that's one of the things that makes this recipe so good, but it also makes the crab cake a little bit delicate to form. This wouldn't work well for frying. It would sort of fall apart. And That's one of the good things about it. Anyway, for portioning, I really like to use an ice cream scoop, but you could use a 1/3 measuring cup instead. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna scoop this, and I'm gonna sort of force it into the ice cream scoop. So I'm gonna pack it a little bit against the side of the bowl because that's going to help hold it together. And then I'm going to drop this right on my baking sheet. And if anything falls off, no worries, just use your hands to gently reform it. I'm not going to flatten the crab cakes. I don't understand why people do that. We're not flattening them. So we'll do this with the rest of our crab meat. Pack it in there. And I wanna bake these all together, so I'm gonna make sure I can fit them all on the same baking sheet. I'm gonna give them about 2 inches of space between them, or at least 2 inches of space. And once you place them, they're difficult to move, so just keep that in mind. So I should have done, scoot them a little bit. Just wanted to make sure the camera got it all for you. I have a little bit of crab meat left in there, and of course, we're not gonna waste any of that. I'm just gonna check this over, make sure everything's tucked in neatly. No stray crab. Okay, I'm flattening that a little bit because it was too ball-shaped for me, but we're not actually flattening the crab cakes. I wanna stress that. Sometimes they look like hockey pucks and they're not supposed to look like hockey pucks. And before I bake these, I like to top them with a little bit of butter. This can be done, we're gonna chill them before they go in the oven. So you can wait to do it until right before they go in the oven or do it now. I recommend doing it now because if I wait, I always forget. So I just have a tablespoon of salted butter here. It's nice and cold. And I'm gonna cut this into 8 pieces. And each crab cake is just gonna get a little pat of butter on top. If I can get it to cooperate, there we go. And then these guys are going to need to chill in the refrigerator before you can bake them for at least 30 minutes, but they're also great for making ahead because they can be refrigerated overnight if needed. So you will want to make sure you cover them. So let me grab my arch nemesis plastic wrap. Try not to make a mess with it. I should have known. That's not how you use plastic wrap. That one's on me. And the butter will try to stick to the plastic wrap when you remove it, so just be mindful of that. I'm trying to stick to it now, but that's just because it hates me. Also, in my defense, I'm kind of doing this backwards on camera, so it makes it extra awkward. All right, so I'm gonna pop these in the fridge where they're going to chill for 30 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm going to get my oven preheating to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, so these have actually been in the fridge for about an hour now. So we're going to remove the plastic wrap, make sure each crab cake still has a piece of butter on it. And yeah, you can just add the butter right before putting it in the oven, but if I do that, I forget. So it's worth the extra hassle. And these go in our 450 degree Fahrenheit preheated oven where they need to bake for about 8 to 10 minutes. So these I cooked for 8 minutes, then without moving them in my oven, I turned my oven to the broil setting and just broiled them for 2 minutes longer. And they appear to be cooked to perfection. So I'm going to let them cool down in just a minute before I enjoy them with a side of my tartar sauce. I did just make a super short video for my tartar sauce, which I call my last minute tartar sauce. If you like condiments like I do, you'll probably enjoy this recipe. Now I do like to serve these with lemons on the side. You can squeeze a little lemon over top the crab cake if you like that flavor, totally optional. I really hope you enjoyed my take on the Maryland crab cake. I am a Maryland native. I've been eating these my whole life. So I have pretty strong opinions about how they should be. And this is my favorite version. If you try it, let me know what you think. And thank you so much for watching. All right. That is a good crab cake. Let's try it with the tartar sauce. That is so good. I'm definitely eating both of these.